If you are trying to change some of your habits, it helps to understand what habits actually are. So in this video, I'm going to explain the fundamentals of habits and tell you how you can be on your way to kicking bad habits and starting good ones. Let's get started. Hey, I'm the Improvement Geek sharing scientific self-improvement. If you're a typical human, you probably have a lot of habits. You may have good habits like going for a run on weekday mornings or washing your dishes right after you eat. You may have some bad habits too, like scrolling for Reddit for 2 hours after you supposedly go to bed, or keeping my favorite Nintendo character out of Smash for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. As author Stephen Covey said, our character is basically a composite of our habits. Because they are consistent, often unconscious patterns, they constantly, daily express our character. But as you are hopefully aware, this channel is not about snappy quotables on improving yourself. It's about the actual science of improving yourself. Let's go ahead and get to that by answering the question of, what is a habit? Our actions are the result of cells called neurons in our brain communicating with other cells, including other neurons. This communication is achieved via an electrical signal that travels down the axon of the neuron to the axon terminal, where an electrical or chemical signal is sent to another cell. Repeating the same action uses the same neural pathway, so your brain responds to this by coating the axons of any neurons involved with a fatty substance called myelin, which decreases the time and energy needed for the signal to reach the terminal. Continuing to repeat the action will result in more myelin to a point, which is how we develop our talents and how practice can eventually make perfect. Though our brain makes up about 2% of our body weight, it uses around 20% of our resting energy. Because having energy was important to make sure we didn't get eaten by animals like the adorable kittens that roamed the savannah back in the old days, our brains evolved a preference for actions that take less energy, like those that have well-myelinated neural pathways. This preference for easier actions is why you find yourself wanting to make your favorite adult beverage and watch JonTron videos for the 90th time when you get home, instead of doing more productive things like reorganizing your pop figures by fandom. This relates to the subconscious homeopathic impulse I mentioned in a previous video. Essentially, your brain wants you to keep doing the things it's used to you doing, because those actions are easier, they take less energy, and they've kept you alive so far. This can either work for you or against you, depending on what and how strong your positive and negative habits are. Because your repeated actions form strong neural connections, you can't just quit playing League of Legends with a snap of your fingers like you're the Thanos of bad habits. You've actually hardwired your brain to want and expect those actions to keep happening, which is one of the reasons why quitting habits like smoking and drinking is so difficult. Another reason is because they typically trigger the release of dopamine, which makes you feel good and want to keep doing those things over and over again, strengthening the neural pathway for those habits and eventually leading to addiction. Though you can't instantly break yourself out of bad habits, you can eventually break out of them with sustained effort of not doing them. A helpful trick for this is to replace bad habits with better ones. Since most habits have some sort of a trigger, then you can substitute good habits in place of bad ones when those triggers occur. Since forming good habits happens the same way forming bad habits does, the process of myelination actually works for us, and it makes it easier on us to drink more water, exercise more, and keep our soccer scarves dusted. Tracking your habits will let you see your progress and hold yourself accountable, and as the number of successful days in a row grows larger, you'll be more motivated to stay on track and keep the streak alive. Just don't let yourself fall into the trap of, well, I broke my streak, so I'm just going to binge and get it out of my system and then start again tomorrow. I've been there, I've done it, it doesn't work, so don't make the same mistake I did. If you slip up, intentionally or unintentionally, just put it out of your mind, let it go, and start fresh tomorrow. To make it easy for you to track your habits, I recommend checking out an app called Habit Bowl, which is available for Android and iOS. Now, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I have used the app for a couple years, and it's super easy to use and it does everything I need to track my habits. As you're working through this process, don't just think of it as changing your habits, think of it as changing your actual identity. A 2011 study in the Journal of Consumer Research had subjects form a healthy eating strategy that included refusing unhealthy food with saying either, "I don't eat that," or "I can't eat that." Afterwards, the subjects were offered their choice of a candy bar or a granola bar. The subjects who said, "I don't eat that," in their strategy were 64% more likely to choose the healthier option of the granola bar. If you work to change how you think and act to support the identity you want to have, then it'll be much easier for you to act consistent with that identity. My challenge to you is to pick 1 to 3 habits you want to change and start tracking them tomorrow. If you want, you can start small with things like making your bed every day and work your way up to more habits or harder habits from there. I was actually reading about a study this morning that showed subjects who performed meaningless rituals before making a choice had increased self control and made better choices. So, yeah, start small and build yourself up from there. Comment down below to let me know what habits you're going to start tracking tomorrow. If you'd like to learn more about the subconscious homeostatic impulse I mentioned earlier, check out this video here. Or check out this one here if you want to learn a few ways you can take better care of yourself. I upload new videos every Saturday, so subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'll see you in the next one.